Next up in James's book, The New Frontiers of Lucid Dreaming, we'll be circling back to a topic I touched on several videos back within this particular playlist where we were talking about pulling useful information out of your dreams to try and learn something about the self and how James will break that up into two different types of approach. You have the self-inquiry types of approaches, and then you have the self-exploratory types of approach. And James definitely prefers the self-inquiry type. If you want to know more about this, you can go back and find the other video I put on it. Just go to my YouTube channel, look under the playlist, The New Frontiers of Lucid Dreaming. Go several videos back from wherever this one is, and I'm sure you'll see it. I'm titled it something like self-inquiry versus self-exploration or something like that. Anyway, if you want to find it, I'm sure you'll be able to. But here he writes a bit more about it. The only real method to self-inquiry in lucid dreams is active mindfulness. By applying the principles of mindfulness to the lucid dream state, we are able to spark highly revealing lucid dream experiences through methods that are known to work while awake. This is the most grounded way to approach lucid dreams for learning about the self and improving well-being. Because the process is entirely mundane and unlikely to send the dreamer on a wild goose chase, like probing the dream's contents often does, as with self-exploratory methods. Of course, I think we do all have those dreams from time to time, which seem to undeniably reveal or confirm something about ourselves, but they are a less reliable way to explore one's inner world. Very often, they just make you feel especially good rather than providing anything useful in the way of self reflection. Then, a bit later, if a person is sufficiently mindful during an experience, they will be able to make accurate observations about themselves in relation to that experience. And so here he's talking about like waking life types of experiences. This is how we orient ourselves towards anything and is essentially how we determine what we do. How do you know that you like going to the movies or hate to be on a boat? How do you know anything about yourself? Because you have had those novel experiences and based on your own internal observations, you have concluded that you do in fact like or dislike those things. It is much the same process in lucid dreams. And then he gives an example in here about how, say, you're lucid in a dream and you're getting attacked by some aggressor, monster, or demon, or something like that. By watching how you respond or react in those situations can help give you some insight into the self and how you would react in some similar type of situation was to happen to you. Maybe not a monster, but maybe just some dude coming to attack you, some aggressor. If that was to happen in your waking life. So like say in your lucid dream, right? Do you let your negative emotions take over and just fight back, as violently and aggressively as you have to? Do you do what I like to do nowadays, where I just grab them and just look at them right into right into their eyes and just basically, dominate them into submission like that? But then at least I don't have to fight or get overly violent with it, which is why I like that approach. Do you do the other common lucid dreaming recommendation where you just like hug them and you accept them and tell them you love them and get past the problem that way? Or do you just sit there, submit, and take whatever they're going to give you? So, like for me personally, I've always defaulted to letting my negative emotions, carry me through and just get as violent and aggressive as I have to. But I never ever liked that. Like even when I would win the fight, when I'm done with it, I don't feel good. In fact, I feel kind of gross and terrible after I go ahead and wake up, or even maybe I'm still within the same dream. I still don't feel that good, even after winning it and still being within the same dream. And that's why over the years, more recently, I switched over to this one where I just grab them and look straight into their eyes. And like, I like that approach. It still has a kind of nice feeling of dominance that comes from it, but it doesn't feel so gross and disgusting when you gotta like go chop somebody's head off or something like that. So that's been my default approach nowadays. I have tried in the past, like, just kind of hugging them and accepting them. But the thing is that never crosses my mind to do it unless, like I'm actively trying to dream incubate that type of idea. It just never really even crosses my mind. I'm just happy now that now it does always cross my mind to grab them and stare into their eyes so I don't just default to my initial reaction, which is just to fight back as violently as I have to. But I have tried that hug thing. It does work. It is pretty cool. If I had to pick, my preferred approach, I do like my grab them and stare at them in the eyes approach. I would go my second best, granted I barely ever do it, would be like the hug them and accept them approach. Third, or like second to the worst, would be like letting my negative emotions take over and just fighting back as aggressively and violently as I have to. And then the one that I actually never ever recall doing in one of my dreams is just giving up and taking it, which is a little weird because I have had, experiences in my waking life that I'm not proud of, where I have kind of like given up and quit. And I wish, I fought harder to stay in it. But, it's weird because I never, ever recall having a lucid dream like that. Or, I mean, I probably did have a regular dream, but definitely not any lucid dream that I can ever remember that I ever let something like that happen where I just kind of gave up and took it. So I don't know, maybe if it's like, because, when I have gone through those experiences in my waking life, I'm like swearing to myself, man, God, I am never, ever doing that shit again. So maybe I just set such a strong intention, in my head to never do that again in my waking life that it just, therefore my dreams, it just never gives me that experience that I can recall at least. Anyway, yeah, so that will wrap it up. Until the next video, keep the lucid dreaming practice legit.